everyone, and good morning once again. What's up with these morning videos these days? Honestly, I hoped I come with a more positive vid, because I feel like the last couple of vids have been quite negative in tone, mostly because, well, Wargaming aren't exactly doing themselves, their company image and so forth, any favors with their Q&A and squeezing in the submarines, and then the entire Missouri shitstorm, like the funnel bugs. There's just too many things that they have going on, too many broken things, them not fixing the torpedo bug. It's been a lot of negative news, like in a row now, and I'd really like to come up with some positive news, but today's news is the fact that basically, well, all their biggest CCs are leaving their program. If community contributors, the guys that are supposed to well, provide the community with contributions or whatever. I mean, that term is a bit loose, because I felt I've provided more community contributions since I left the program, or sorry, since I was kicked from the program, not left. But the news, of course, is that LVM has left the program, Little White Mouse. And to follow that up, iChase Gaming also left the program, and apparently both Jingles and Flambas are also going to be leaving the program. Those two are still not confirmed, but that's basically what's on the grapevine. So the CC program is basically kind of collapsing, and well, not exactly surprising considering how that company treats. I was a CC for many years, and there was a reason why I celebrated no longer being part of that program. And I guess people are starting to get a grasp, get an idea of just what kind of a company it is, and how they actually treat their CCs, and why it simply isn't very enjoyable to be part of that program, even though it's supposed to be a very positive experience. With the company culture that Wargaming has, it very much is not. What we should start off with Little White Mouse. For those that aren't aware, Little White Mouse is basically... I don't think there's anyone who doesn't respect Little White Mouse as a CC. In fact, if you have a company, if you have any sort of gaming company, Little White Mouse is the kind of CC you wish you had. She's the one who has an incredible love and passion for the game. She reviews basically every single ship out there. She meticulously tests everything related to game. Like, I often joke that Little White Mouse is Wargaming's quality assurance department, because clearly they don't have one themselves, and she's basically taken over that role. So that's kind of what I joke, and that's kind of what it feels like, because she's the one, she basically turning circles for all the ships. She's the one who corrected them all, because then the values that you had in port were wrong, but she went into training rooms and she sailed every single ship around in circles and measured their turning circles, and basically she's the one CC whose reviews I read, because she does so much research into everything she does, and it's extremely hard to dislike her in any way, because she's very much positive, civilized, just a nice human being who's incredibly passionate about the game. So the fact that Wargaming has actually managed to drive her out of their program is... I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to laugh, but holy shit, how dumb can you be? Like, how much of a PR disaster can you make for yourself to drive that kind of person out of your program? That's basically, she exemplifies what being a CC is, and they managed to drive her out of the program, which I find just absolutely hilarious. The game in the background, it's old Pommern secondaries, by the way. I never got around to featuring it, that this is celebration to old secondaries, another thing that's being dumb right now, but we're not gonna get into that. For those who aren't really aware of the Little White Mouse thing, basically, well, she's been lied and gaslit to by Wargaming plenty of times in the past, but one of the really big tipping points that really soured her relationship with the company was that she and Chobi was asked to design a ship for Wargaming, and they worked on this for like over a year. They put in a lot of effort, a ton of work into it, and Wargaming kind of just ignored it. They ignored it and pretended they were lying, pretended it didn't happen, and then when they finally provided evidence and they finally brought it out into public, only then did Wargaming backpedal and start apologizing, but they still weren't willing to implement any of the work that she put in. And I mean, this is probably pretty common to you guys, because this has always been my experience with wargaming as well, is you bring up something, they ignore it, you bring up something, they ignore it, you give them feedback, they say we don't like your feedback, and then you make a video about it. You make a public video about the subject matter, and it blows up, and then wargaming is like, oh shit, I guess we have to do something about that. The wargaming never does anything out of their goodwill, or because they want to help the community, or because they respect their player base. They do something because it blows up in their face, and they're forced to do something. And this was kind of the case with the whole Yukon debacle, of course. So, of course, wargaming, they cited miscommunication issues, classic communication issues, of course, and how they weren't gonna do it again, and how they were gonna fix it, and so forth. But at this point, I mean, Little White Mouse is used to being treated like a mushroom, kept in the dark and being fed shit. But, so she actually wanted them to do something tangible, and that was to use the camo that they spent all this time developing for the ship that they were supposed to develop. Like, basically use a percentage of all this work that they did and just implement the camo into the game. And some people said this was, wow, how can she demand a camo or something like that? No, the point isn't the camo. The point is that this is wargaming actually having to do something to mend the relationship. That's the point, because wargaming hands out apologies and excuses like they hand out candy. It's, we're sorry, we didn't mean, we're gonna fix it, we're gonna be much better, we've heard this 50,000 times. No one trusts this company anymore. There is zero trust between the player base and the company, and I know CCs don't trust this company at all, despite what they're not really allowed to talk about. Because I've been there, I didn't trust anything they said. So, obviously, she wanted them to add this Sackwell camo to the Yukon, and of course wargaming refused. It was too much for them. They had to do something tangible. They couldn't. There was something they actually had to do. They couldn't just type a nice message and say, "Oh, we're sorry, we're not going to do it again," and "Oh, miscommunication." But they actually had to do something to repair the relationship, and this was just too much for them. And of course, apparently, they also when she talked about this on the Wargaming Discord, apparently a Wargaming employee decided to contradict her, belittle her, and ignore the evidence she was providing, all the while barking at me to show them respect. This is them communicating better. It's completely unacceptable, we're just an isolated incident. So, and then finally, it took them almost an hour to apologize and admit they were wrong in this case, but only after other CCs had to dogpile onto the situation. This sounds like wargaming. This sounds like wargaming. You are wrong and you are misinformed right until it blows up in their face, and then they realize, ah shit, now we have to apologize. So this was the final straw that kind of broke the camel's back in this case. And of course, in this case, I mean, it's probably gonna be Little White Mouse's word against Wargaming's word, but between those two, like, it's not even a contest. Hello? Like, I don't trust Wargaming as far as I can throw them, whereas Little White Mouse is probably the only CC whose reviews I've actually read throughout the years. The only other CC whose content I follow, because it's interesting and because it's detailed and because she doesn't ever come across as the kind of person that would lie. So, obviously this has repercussions though. Managing to alienate her and managing to get her out of the program, which is very impressive. Getting someone who actually loves your game as much as she does, getting them out of the program is already, like, impressive. I don't even understand how you managed to fuck that up. Like, well done, Wargaming. Your PR disasters apparently have no bottom. I thought you dug all the way to the bottom, but you're just continuing digging. I don't know, you got a diamond tip on your drill or something. So that also meant that iChase decided, he posted a vid today, he's out as well. He was like, he cited once again, well, the classic Wargaming treats everyone like shit, they ignore all the feedback, the communication is junk, and, well, of course all the feedback, especially like Missouri, was very sore point for a lot of CZs, because, well, the way it's being presented is scummy as shit. I mean, you saw my vid on it, it's hilariously scummy the way they're doing doing Missouri, celebrating Victory in Japan Day by forcing you to gamble on the blue loot boxes. It's treating the player base like walking wallets. So He's bailing, and apparently Trendless is gone as well, and Jingles, he left with World of Tanks CC program because of the whole DMCA Sir Fock issue ages ago, but now he's apparently leaving the World of Warships section as well, doesn't surprise me, and apparently Flambaz is also leaving it, and who did I not mention? Let's see. We mentioned iChase, Jingles, Flambaz, Trendless. That's the ones that are apparently also going to be dropping bids today and going to be bailing on the program. So this is Wargaming managing to sabotage their own program. Like, I mean, I guess in a way, I think it's fair, because we have had to endure a shitty fucking CV rework, a shitty Commander rework, and now Wargaming gets to enjoy a CC rework. So maybe there is actually some fairness, some justice in the world. Anyway, have a great rest of the evening, and have a great rest of the day watching this house of shit cards collapse, because that's going to be pretty entertaining. Hello everyone, and well, good morning. Normally I wouldn't bother making a video this, well, right as I woke up, but once again I am blown away by the sheer incompetence, or perhaps the sheer greed and dislike that Wargaming has towards their own community. Because, well, I don't even understand how they managed to screw this up, how they managed to handle this so incredibly poorly, because this is something that should have been the easiest slam dunk of a success story I've ever seen, but of course, in classic Wargaming fashion, well, they're screwing the pooch. Well, to begin with, the Missouri, I'm actually featuring a really old game in the Missouri. I don't even remember when this was played, but the Missouri is being re-added back to the game. For those that aren't aware, the Missouri was the first Tier 9 premium in the game, and it was originally removed from the game because, well, it had too many credits. It just gave you too many credits. The credit income was far too high. Now people suspect that it was being removed because Wargaming made a whoopsie. They put too good of a credit multiplier on it, and then they really regretted it later, so they pulled it from the store. Of course, they came out and explicitly told us, no, it's not about profits, it's about battle influence. But then later on, as they're in the message where they mentioned that they were going to re-add it to the game, they admit that no, it was actually about profits. Now, of course, blatantly lying to your community would be a pretty big deal for any other company, but for Wargaming, it's Thursday. So, not exactly that noteworthy. We're pretty used to it at this point. Anything that they tell us, take it with a, I don't know, bag of salt. Regardless, the USS Missouri being re-added should still be a success story. For those that aren't aware, USS Missouri is an incredibly historical ship. It's in fact a museum ship at Pearl Harbor, and it's gigantic, it's incredibly famous. It received 11 battle stars for its service. It took part in World War II. It was one of the ships that actually shelled the Japanese home islands. It later took part in the Korean War from 50 to 53, and it even was modernized in the 80s, so it took part in Operation Desert Storm in 91. So this ship has a long and rich history, and the thing that really makes it stand out, of course, is it was the site where the Empire of Japan surrendered. This is where they signed their surrender. In fact, Wargaming is very well aware of this, and they've used it kind of as a marketing trick. There's a bit of an Easter egg for this. If you look at the port, if you look at the Missouri and the port, you can in fact see a little table where you can see where they signed this treaty. So, incredibly historical ship, a museum ship, a ship that a lot, especially I would say Americans would really, really like to have. I mean, many others, of course. But On 15th of August, so basically just in a couple of days now, it's Victory in Japan Day. So adding this ship back right at the eve of such a big celebration or such a big deal, such a historical day. I mean, this should have been the easiest slam dunk in the world. Very easy piece of cake. So, of course, in classic Wargaming fashion, they go about being basically as scummy as they possibly can. First of all, well, the ship is being added back, but it will appear in random bundles that can be obtained in exchange for doubloons. Doubloons, of course, is something you can only buy with real money, and you get it. You have to gamble these doubloons on random bundles in the hopes that you will get the Missouri. So they made this ship that was originally available for free XP. They made it they removed it, made it incredibly scarce, and now they're adding it back for real money gambling boxes. I mean, Jesus, talk about really trying to milk the cow absolutely dry. I'd be amazed if it was any other company, but these days this is basically what I expect from Wargaming. It's just so scummy, just so scummy. So this is how they celebrate Victory in Japan Day and how they commemorate it, by forcing you to gamble with your hard-earned money to maybe get a chance to get the Missouri, maybe. And you better believe you're not gonna get the ship in the first or the second bundle. It's gonna be bundle number XXX somewhere far in the back after you've spent God knows how much money to get this. And the only reason the ship is rare is, of course, because they made it rare. That's really the only thing behind it. Now, do you think this is all? Well, you'd think, wow, this is already pretty bad. Like, this is pretty scummy. But this is actually just the tip of how badly they are screwing this entire thing up. Because, well, Little White Mouse, an excellent community contributor who's lately grown quite disillusioned with Wargaming after she's been repeatedly screwed over in various things, like the whole Yukon debacle where they've just blatantly lied to her and then cited miscommunication and, you know, all these things. But she's known for doing extensive research, and she's actually one of the CCs that I read because she just does, she goes into such detail, and just a really great, honestly, community contributor. And the fact that they're willing to alienate her is probably the biggest, what is it called, black sign against the, what is it called, dark sign, I don't know. Well, I don't remember what it's called in English, I don't know the saying, but it's the biggest black eye for that company, is the fact that they're willing to treat a CC that puts so much passion and effort into the game like complete shit. I mean, it's standard for the course. Regardless, let me move on. Anyway, well, she was very worried with the Missouri being re-added, how they were going to handle this monitor thing. What Wargaming said is, well, since the issue was profits, they were gonna, when they re-add the Missouri, it wasn't gonna get the old credits multiplier. It was gonna get a new multiplier, the standard for the new tier 9, basically the new nerf tier 9 credits multiplier. But for people who already own the ship, you were gonna get a special permanent mission that gives you 17% profits. This was their way to make up for it, so you get this 17% extra. Now obviously there was a fair few questions here, and well, many of them was basically, is this a nerf to the people who already own the Missouri? Which is a, considering Wargaming Day, they love screwing over old customers, this was a very valid thing to ask. So the questions he asked was, obviously, are you going to be able to use the Missouri with the mission to farm credit missions like you used in the past? Like, there's usually pretty common Wargaming adds these missions where earn 10 million credits, and Missouri was really good for this because you could take the Missouri and then you could slap credit flags on, at least dragon flags and camos, and you could use this huge base credit earning and modify it with these flags to get a lot of income. So she straight up asked, based on what we're being told, like you can pause the video and look at the whole thing, but I'm reading the thing at the bottom. Based on what we're being told, the difference in the base credit earning is 200,000 credits in this example. However, the mission will also take into account all bonuses that would have been received by signals and camouflage, meaning the mission in this example would provide the full 530,000 credits at a minimum. Is this correct? So she's asking, does the mission take into account signals and camo? Basically, does it scale off signals and camo, or is it a separate entity? And Wargaming quite directly answers this. They answer, so directly answering question number 1, yes, the player will not earn less than with the old built-in coefficient. So yes, it will scale off of flags, and yes, it will scale off of camos. Don't worry, you're gonna earn exactly the same. We wouldn't nerf our old player base. Now, you can probably already tell where I'm going with this, because, well, Little White Mouse, of course, she made a forum thread, she made a Reddit thread about this, letting everyone know, hey, this is how it works, and don't worry guys, Wargaming's got our back, our good old buddy Wargaming, they totally wouldn't screw us over. And what do you have it? They, of course, screwed us over. In fact, people have already been testing it. So, as you can see in this picture, the modifier here, the Basilisk flag, the 30% of the 322k, well, it's 30% of the 322k, but it should actually be the combat mission plus the base value that's being modified by the flags, as they promised. But what actually happens is that the combat mission is a separate entity that doesn't receive benefits from the camo or from these dragon flags. So, basically, straight up lie again, and quite a significant nerf to anyone who got the Missouri back in the days, because, well, if you're using dragon flags and you're using camos, well, you're modifying, these are all percentage-based modifiers, so if you modify a value of 1 instead of a value of 1.17, obviously the percentage that you get is going to be significantly smaller, especially when we're talking about more than 100% bonuses on top that you're trying to build up. So, not just a blatant lie, but also, of course, a huge nerf to previous owners of the Missouri. So, that's a really good way of rewarding the people who got the ship back in the day, and a really good way to show loyalty to your customers, of course. So, this is what I'd call a bit of a shit show. And then finally, of course, this permanent mission. Keep in mind that this 17% bonus that you get, well, it is thanks to a permanent mission. Now, how permanent is really this mission? Well, in fact, if you go into your combat missions and you look in the Pacific War section, you'll find that the mission will be available for 141 days. Well, that's because the Wargaming's UI is such incredible spaghetti that they literally can't add a permanent mission, but I think they have to manually re-add this mission at the start of every year. And, well, I don't know about you guys, but I've been told that we were going to get permanent missions in the past. The best example of this is probably the unique upgrades, aka the legendary upgrades. We were promised that these would be permanent combat missions, that we can, this is the end game, we can grind these permanent combat missions to unlock these things, and then they just remove them and put the unique upgrades in the armory. Despite the community overwhelmingly voting against this decision, they of course still did it, because, well, I guess they saw bigger profits there. Still, so basically everything about this is complete bullshit. It's real money gambling to get the ship in the first place. For the old owners, it's gotten nerfed, and even in the future, if you're gonna get this 70% bonus that doesn't even scale over flags and stuff, well, that's not a guarantee, because it's Wargaming and you can trust them as far as you can throw them. So, adding the historical ship, the site of the surrender of the Empire of Japan on Victory in Japan Day, which should be a slam dunk success, has now in the hands of Wargaming. They are like a reverse Midas. Anything they touch turns into shit. And here we have another beautiful example. As always, thank you for watching. Please don't spend real money on getting the Missouri, by the way. It's kind of side grade from Iowa at best. It doesn't have the super heal and so forth. It has a radar, but the value is questionable because it's 9.5 km. So just don't spend real money to get this ship. I understand if for your history buffs, I can understand more than for the guys who think they're gonna get some great ship. The history buffs I can understand better, but no, it's very much not worth it. Save your money for something far better than giving it to Wargaming. Anyway, that was all from me.
Good to talk to all of you again today, and I hope this video finds you all doing well. This video is actually coming out a little bit earlier than originally planned, but some things have happened within the last little bit that has pushed this whole situation up to an earlier time. So recently, a significant group of very, very notable CCs, myself, Jingles, Flambass, Little White Mouse, and a number of others whom you will start to see videos and content and streams and stuff with coming out in the next little while. We've gotten really to that enough is freaking enough stage with Wargaming, St. Petersburg. The things they're doing as a company are disgusting and very oftentimes just morally bankrupt. You know, the things they say, the things they do has just pushed us over the edge. And there's a couple of major things. And the first one, and I think this one is kind of going to be obvious to many of you, is the gambling loot boxes. There is so much of these loot boxes now that it almost feels like every single month something new is in a loot box. Even when it's not something that should be in a loot box. Oh, well, you know what? We'll put it in a loot box too. You know, just think Distant Voyagers containers. Like, really? Just for camo, not even for ships, just camos needs to be in a loot box now too. You know, and then the final real thing that kind of broke the camel's back is Missouri. This is a ship that was originally for free experience back in the day, and of course they made her with that huge credit earning bonus, which was the real reason they initially went, oh, that's not good. You know, players get that one premium ship and they never need to get another one. And that one, of course, remember, they didn't even sell. They made it for free experience. So, you know, they decided that that was not going to be a ship that they wanted people to have easy access to. So they removed her. And then, of course, later on, that ship came back in a box. And so you think, okay, well, maybe one day, when they decide that they want to bring just a ship back for her historical significance, they'll make her just sort of like every other premium ship, a ship that is relatively easy to just go into a store and purchase. Well, now we know, you know, this historically significant ship, the one that a lot of collectors have been waiting for. Oh no, that's in a loot box as well. Also, by the way, speaking of containers, don't forget, with the Missouri, they're not even telling us what the odds are, right? It could just be like Johan de Witt again. And even with Johan de Witt, don't forget that for an early access container, went from originally like odds, which was like 1 in 40 something. For Johan de Witt, it went up to 1 in 72. They actually increased the number of boxes you have to open for a chance at getting that ship. This is just how much this gambling thing has increased. And remember, this is still a game that, according to the ratings agencies, are perfectly good for children. Just think about that for a second. Anyways, the response regarding Missouri was very, very negative among the CCs. I mean, a lot of feedback was provided. A lot of very passionate feedback was given. And wow, the responses that, you know, we got back from Wargaming. Wargaming loves to say that we are supposed to be partners in this discussion, but that wasn't a discussion between two partners at all. I can't really go into details because obviously they decided that that needs to be NDA as well, so I can't really talk about specifically what was said, but the simple way I can explain it in a way that I think all of you can imagine is, imagine having a quote-unquote discussion with supposedly the opposite side that is an equal partner-ish, you know, kind of situation, and you're supposed to talk to each other supposedly with mutual respect, and instead it felt like you were talking to the lawyer on the other team. The answers that were provided were just that type of answer. It was infuriating to see. Oh, did I mention that at the end of it all? Actually, I'm not sure I can say it. But basically, let's just say that the discussion ended with somebody Alt F4ing and just quitting the discussion altogether. That is supposed to be how this partnership is supposed to work, right? Wargaming. Anyways, moving on to the next thing, and that has to do with feedback. Now, that's another one of those things that Wargaming loves to tell us that, hey, we're partners, so please be respectful. You know, we want to engage in respectful discussions. You know, that's a very common thing they love to say. You know, please show us some respect. And You know, and then let's say you do that. You try to do those things in a civil and as a well thought out manner as possible. You would go to them, you'd present your feedback, and then you would be shut down. You would be told that you don't know what you're talking about. You'd be belittled. You'd be treated like you're just like a piece of trash from the road somewhere. You know, you just get treated like you're not supposed to say anything, because now that you're offering feedback that like, nah, that's not really what we're looking for. We kind of wanted you to say all the good things about us, you know? And that was very, very, very frustrating. You know, you offer feedback in the feedback channel. It's often met with, no, you're wrong because our data shows X, Y, and Z, or no, you're wrong. We just simply don't agree with you. Or, you know, for me personally, one of the really good ones I kept hearing was, no, you're wrong because you're a Unicum player and therefore you represent a very small percentage of our player base and you cannot possibly understand what the feeling is like for the 40% players that are, you know, the large majority of our game. They would even come back with things like that. Utterly, utterly, utterly infuriating. And it was the one thing that turned me off from giving them feedback through the feedback channels. The other thing, of course, was that the whole CC Discord thing almost got engineered in a certain way. You know, they'd always be able to say, oh, but you could have just come and asked us about X, Y, and Z. You know, considering the experience so far, you know, like that became kind of the norm, you know, and this wasn't always the case. This was truly not always the case. Wargaming had its screw ups way back in the day, but at least back in the day, one could say that there felt like there was going to be a discussion that could occur. That you'd have an ability to sort of talk to them and you'd have an interesting discussion about mechanics or whatever, and there would be this back and forth and be like, oh, okay, I kind of see how they, you know, are thinking, and they would also at times get a sense of how, you know, we were thinking, and that they would start to say, oh yeah, you know what, that actually makes sense from the things that we used to provide them. That's gone now. That's been gone last maybe 2 years. It's just, there's something fundamentally that has shifted starting about what felt like maybe about 3 years ago. You know, as I guess certain people left the company and certain other people climbed their way up, there has just been this collective decline within the company itself in terms of any kind of real, you know, back and forth. Now it's mostly getting talked down at, getting talked down to, being diminished, being sort of made to feel stupid. Yeah. You know, and of course, I guess the most defining bit where was a real eye-opener was CC Summit 2019. Wargaming had spent quite a lot of money, brought a lot of their CCs together into one big room, and then they pitched these ideas at us. And one of the ideas that was pitched to us was the Naval Training Center. And, you know, for those of you who don't remember, you can always go back, look for the old Naval Training Center Paragon system videos. And, you know, they pitched that system to us and we were like, no, this is awful. This is terrible. What are you guys doing? And this was unanimous, almost negative feedback. And you would figure that after hearing all of that, they'd be like, okay, wow, you know what? All these people are telling it to our face that this is an awful change. Maybe we should consider that. But remember the whole like, oh yeah, actually you guys are just a vocal minority. They went with it. They released the same thing publicly. And then of course the whole thing exploded. And then they finally went, oh yeah, maybe that's not the world's best idea. And so, you know, in came the currently slightly reworked Research Bureau. But interestingly enough, World of Tanks Crew 2.0 came up and it's almost the same thing as the original Naval Training Center. Like, maybe they just shuffled some of those people to another office, right? And they took the same ideas, quote unquote, they had over there. So that was really, really eye-opening to see that. You know, to see how little, you know, value we actually had when we were coming to discuss things, right? And then of course, the last and final thing, which is the screw-ups. Wargaming's repeated, you know, like every so often screw-ups, which by the way are becoming much, much more frequent these days. But you know, they used to screw up and then they would apologize and they say, yeah, we're really, really, really sorry about this, and we're promising that we're going to do better. Now, for those of you who have been around and who have seen this and have heard this, let me ask you the all-important question. Have you noticed an improvement? Wargaming's management seems, comically unwilling to, fix any of the real problems. Think about how many we've had. Think about how many disasters we've had. And has anything changed? Has anything fixed? Has anything gotten better? In fact, the problems seem to be now occurring at an ever faster pace. We had how many in the last 3 months? Good Lord. I jokingly made an image, this job has worked X number of days without a PR screw up, and now that's becoming like, this job has worked X number of hours. Maybe in the future it would be like talking about minutes, without a PR screw up. It is shocking. It is shocking how bad this has become. Never mind the fact that with every screw up now, there's just an excuse. It's almost like pre-made, ready to go, right? With Yukon, it was a communication mistake. With the whole Distant Voyages container, it was a translation error. As if all the native speakers, all however 15 different languages you have native speakers for, they all simultaneously screwed up the translation. All the while, those containers just about broke how many consumer protection laws in the countries that you operate? There is some seriously messed up things in the company right now, Wargaming. And you guys need to start to address it. You need to start to examine these things in detail. Find out what's going on, because this is a much deeper problem. This is not just one community manager who accidentally said something. This is something cultural within the company. There are people in management positions who are not doing the job that they're supposed to be doing, or maybe unable to do the jobs that they are doing. And this is actually something that you guys can look up. There is actually these ideas within management that, if you keep promoting people when they don't really deserve those promotions, they will end up in places where they're not able to do those jobs. So, enough is enough, Wargaming. This has to stop. I find myself no longer able to be affiliated with your morally bankrupt behavior. A company that treats its player base like they're just a bunch of walking bank accounts that can be milked for money every single time that you guys want to sell something. And worst of all, you target the people who are vulnerable to very predatory practices. I hereby resign from the Community Contributors Program, effective immediately. Now, to my many other CCs who are walking out, I congratulate you all for having the courage to stand up for what is right, to stand up for yourselves, to stand up for the communities that you represent. The only thing I want to tell you is at the end of the day, your reputations and your integrity are the only things that you have going for you. That, at the end of the day, is what your community will recognize. That is all you have and all you're going to have. And always remember, let the cautionary tale of one former North American community contributor who can never really get rid of that negative mark on their reputations be a reminder to do what is truly important and not to be a shill for a company. Thank you all. Take care. Remember to support the people who are standing up and stop giving Wargaming your money. Take care, and I'll talk to all of you again next time.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a good day. I hope the news you're gonna be hearing throughout the next couple of days are not gonna make you sad, but are gonna make you a little bit concerned and maybe question or double question the stuff that's going on, and potentially, I don't know, help you make some decisions. I'm sure some of you have already heard, and I'm sure some of you have already been in loop. CC program is not what it used to be. Wargaming in the past couple of years have, as a company, changed so much. It is incredible. We used to feel like we matter, like they listen to us, like they care. And I'm not just talking about us as CCs, us as players, as community, as people who consume their product. That is no longer the case. Being a CC has been a freaking nightmare for the past couple of years, and I couldn't wait to leave. Instead of the other way around, I couldn't wait for a chance to leave. Wargaming has been emotionally draining, mentally numbing, and just heartbreaking to deal with. I found myself depressed. Like, hello, I'm not a depressing person. If anything, I started playing this game and super excited and always upbeat and stuff like that. And in the past year or two, I just found it that it's sucked the life out of me. So I've set myself a new goal. I'm going to be focusing less on ships and more on everything else. I don't want to be stuck to just one game. I don't want to be depending on just one game, especially when I see what they're doing to this game. Like the amount of broken balance or lack of balance and broken mechanics in this game is a special case in itself. The fact that you have to every day read walls of text, of feedback from both people who have bigger and smaller communities than you, from like tens and hundreds of thousands of players, and then be called vocal minority and irrelevant, be utterly disrespected. Watching the game being monetized every step of the way. Sometimes I feel they would monetize the air you breathe while you play the game if they could, and that would be a good idea. But not something else that we like tell them would be a good idea. Like, we play this game more than they do. We interact with people that play this game more than they do. Every day. And they just don't care. They live in such a bubble that is impenetrable. It is disgusting. I no longer wish to be a part of the CC community. It has lost all integrity. It has lost decency. It is, and this is not thanks to community contributors. Don't get me wrong. I'm not pointing any fingers at certain community contributors or the program itself. This is towards Wargaming. They have utterly disrespected the program, and I no longer wish to be a part of it. I can't. It has been literally draining and depressing and mentally numbing, watching them day in and day out pretty much tell you to shut the fuck up and pretending that you're crazy. Because apparently we're not capable of using our own heads and our own brains to think, to see, to talk to people. Whatever they say is true and the rest is illusion. And we are all delirious. All of us. I mean, okay, sure, there are a couple of suck-ups and there's a couple of people who like to crawl someone's ass, and there's a couple of people that have a different opinion and stuff like that, and that's all fine, dude, but the amount of feedback these people get that just everything points in the opposite way, and they just continuously keep to freaking murder the living shit and fun out of this game, over monetize it, ruin game's health, break the balance, not care. Dude, they haven't fixed the goddamn curving torpedoes patch in forever. What the hell is wrong with this company? That's it for me. I will continue to play World of Warships when I feel like playing World of Warships, which is today. I'll probably be playing some World of Warships for as long as I can handle it on a patch weekend. But I will no longer be pushing myself to do it like super duper hard or anything like that. I have already informed my community of this. I've been telling them for a while. I'm lowering the amount of time I will be playing the game. But I am, as of this moment, resigning the CC program. I no longer wish to be associated with wargaming. They have no integrity. They have absolute lack of respect. And that is it. I am done with them. By the time you see this video, I've already probably posted it on other social media as well. The amount of drama that they fuel, I can't, dude. I don't, like, I care about this game and the community. I don't give a shit about wargaming. Not anymore. This is ridiculous. So, I hope that you, of course, continue to support me in doing what I love. And if I'm happy, I can make videos that can make you happy, not the other way around. I am not sad about this. I am actually excited about this. Like, this is the kind of company, the monster that we're dealing with here, that disassociating with them, stepping away from them, is actually making me feel excited instead of concerned or scared. I am just excited to go back to not talking to some of those big brains in that company. Unfortunately, most of people who you talk to, you guys who are going to be able to talk to, are not the guys to blame. Shonai has been wonderful in talking to us and trying to help us while everything friggin' burns. Chrysantos, who you guys are going to be seeing on their streams, those are not the guys that make any decisions and calls. Some of the wonderful people that organized a bunch of trips and stuff, you know who you are. These are not the people that make decisions and don't make their lives living hell. It's not their fault. This is the fault of those brains behind the curtains who are ruining their game, ruining the fun with all the gambling bullshit, overly aggressive monetization of everything, breaking the balance, not giving a shit, not listening, not caring to just about anything or anyone besides your wallets. That's it. Like I said, join Discord, check my stream if you haven't, follow me on Twitter, and I wish you a very happy rest of your day. I will be streaming very soon, and then continue on with my life. Like, this, to me, is not something that's gonna set me back. If anything, I feel that I'm being elevated now that, like, the rock has dropped, and I'm actually excited about the future. So yeah, I hope to see as many of you there. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. That is very much appreciated. More videos coming out, and stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And, well, boys, we can't really go long without something happening, huh? Some type of drama or incredibly poor decision-making from Wargaming. Well, at least in the optic of, I would imagine, most players. At least. So, the Missouri, the long-awaited Tier 9 premium American battleship that was once in the game, that was removed from the game, that is now being added back into the game, is being re-released this patch to celebrate the end of World War II, the 76th anniversary of World War II ending on August 27th. And it was announced some time ago that Missouri would be available yet again for players to this time purchase with doubloons. Now, the Missouri is, of course, the first free XP ship in the game, the first Tier 9 premium ship, and her economy is quite frightening currently. However, the Missouri that will be available to pick up during this event will not have the old economy. However, commanders who have the Missouri already in their port, according to Wargaming, will receive a never-ending combat mission that will make up for the change in economics. And you'll see for yourself just how good the Missouri's economy at the end of the match you're watching right now. So, Missouri is available to buy for doubloons, right? Technically, that's true. Technically, that's true. And yesterday, I kind of, not really defended, but kind of played down the miswording of the summer sale description in the armory, saying, you know, it's a communication mistake that's tried and true, going to happen with Wargaming with their translation from Russian to English. And, well, if what's this article says about Missouri is true, then maybe I was a bit too generous there, and maybe they are that persnickety with their words. Because, boys, Missouri will be available to purchase for doubloons. But if this article is the full story, only in random bundles. So remember that poll I put up about Johan de Witt and how many bundles it took players to get Johan de Witt, which is a Tier 9 Techline ship in the Early Access event? Yeah, that, but with Missouri. Tier 9 Premium Battleship. I can promise you, not a lot of players are going to be getting this on their first or second bundle. Words do not... I can't really put into words what I'm thinking right now. I mean, this is one of the most sought-after ships in the game. One part due to her economy, because of how good her economy is and how much this thing prints money. However, they removed that from her, and she's still a very desirable ship, and rightfully so. Missouri is one of the most historically significant ships in the game. The ship saw an amazing service life. Literally, World War II ended on the deck of this real-life ship, and it would be very cool for players to pick her up in game. And the Missouri served for so long, there's crew members of the Missouri playing this game right now, which I think is incredible, and I think they should very much be able to pick up their ship in game, but not in frickin' random bundles. Wargaming, good lord. And I knew it. I didn't want to say it, but it just didn't make sense. This is a ship that people will wail hundreds, if not thousands of dollars trying to get in Christmas containers. And Wargaming was just going to sell it for doubloons. That doesn't make sense in my mind from Wargaming's perspective. A ship that, just the mere notion of picking the ship up in a Christmas container causes whales to throw their credit cards at the game. And then they're just going to outright sell it and remove its economy. It just didn't make sense that they were literally shooting their goose that lays their golden egg. But now it does. Being available in this event just for, I'm assuming, a temporary... Oh yeah, it's got to be a temporary event if it's going to be in random bundles. To where you have to go through the strings of the random bundles to get the Missouri. Wargaming right now, to avoid absolute calamity when this goes live, for the love of God, release the probability of you getting Missouri just in the front so we can avoid a Johan de Witt situation. They probably won't, but if you're watching Wargaming, you need to do that. What's really interesting too is that they don't tell you how many bundles are in this event right now. It could be 50, it could be 76, it could be 100. And you know what? players are still going to try and get it. But if any of you are considering getting this ship out there right now, watching this video, do not get the Missouri. Last time I talked about getting the Missouri, I said it's really not worth it for what I would thought the ship was going to be charged for about $80, the price of a Tier 9 premium ship. Sadly, the Missouri is not worth it anymore. She no longer, well, she never got it in the first place. She doesn't get the improved American battleship hill. She doesn't get anything that the stock Missouri, the stock Iowa, the Techline Iowa, not the stock Iowa, my bad, the Techline Tier 9 American battleship, the Iowa. She doesn't have anything over that ship except for her radar. And her radar isn't even that useful anymore. There's a lot of radar at higher tier. It's only really useful in close-in situations when you're pushing an island and you don't know what's on the other side of this island. There might be a DD waiting for you. There might be a cruiser waiting for you. That's about the only situation it's useful. Or if you're being shadowed by a DD in the open water. However, again, with the amount of radar at higher tier, it's really not that useful. It only has a 9.5 kilometer range. Most tier 10 radar has at least a 10 kilometer range, unless you're talking about the Salem and a couple of the radars on the DDs. But that's it's nowhere near enough for this ship to be worth going through these random bundles. And it's really shocking to me that they removed her economy. Because if this ship still had the same economy, people would be all over this for these random bundles. A guaranteed chance, not a chance, but a guaranteed to get a Missouri out of these bundles if you go all the way to the end with that economy. And when they removed the economy, I thought they were just going to sell her outright. And it sure was worded like that, but until now, nope. Little old switch. I don't know if it's really a switcheroo, but again, it was so delicately worded. Available for doubloons. She is available for doubloons and random bundles. But do not try to get this ship in random bundles. It is not worth it. It's an Iowa with the stock American battleship hill, no plane, a radar that's not that useful. That's it. That's the Missouri now. No economy to back it up. All of its shortcomings before were backed up by the economy. If you already had the Missouri, you will still have that economy according to Wargaming. And I know it's hard not to go for it. I know it's the Missouri. It's a very historical ship. It's the collector's dream ship, but it is not worth it anymore. Do not spend money on this event. Do not try to pick up the Missouri. It's really hard for me to say that too, because I really like the ship. Again, it's a very historical ship. It's just so frustrating that they choose to do this. Like, we're losing the Missouri economy for this. Like, God, if you're going to sell the ship outright, I understand. And they worded it like they were doing it like that because they even mentioned how sought after the ship is and how many players wanted to get the ship in their collection. And it sounded like they were just going to outright sell it or maybe come back for free XP. But no, they just freaking did this. And it's incredibly frustrating that they do this with the ship because they know what they're doing. They absolutely know what they're doing. But again, guys, if you're looking at this event and looking to pick up the Missouri, just don't. Go get an Iowa. Buy the premium camo for the Iowa. It'll cost you a lot less. I know the Tier 9 premium camos are kind of expensive, but I promise you'll spend less money buying the premium camo for the Iowa than you will trying to get the Missouri in these random bundles. Remember the Johann de Witt? Remember this graph? Remember this graph. Remember this poll. Remember this poll. Look at all those players that had to go to like the last 10 bundles to get their ship. Look at that. Look at that. That's with a Tech 9 ship. With a Techline Tier 9 ship. Tech 9 ship. Yeah, the machine pistol ship. That's with a Techline Tier 9 ship. A Techline Tier 9 ship. How far do you think they're going to make it go for a Tier 9 premium ship for the Missouri? It'll be interesting to see the results of this poll with God knows how many bundles they're going to do. 72 for the Johann de Witt. I'm predicting probably 76, maybe 80, maybe even 100 bundles. Who knows? Who freaking knows? This is just greed. So much greed. And oh my God. And you know what? I bet that this event's going to end And you know what's going to come back again next year for the anniversary of the end of World War II? The Missouri again, and more random bundles. I bet that's what's. I bet y'all that's what's going to happen. You done did it, Wargaming. You done frickin' did it. So, whales beware. History buffs beware. Don't get this ship. Don't try to get it. Save your money. It's better spent elsewhere. Just buy some premium time. Buy some camos. Well, buy the Iowa premium camo. You'll be fine in terms of credit income at that point. Much better ship altogether. But do not spend money on this ship. Do not feed into Wargaming's greed for this event. It's not worth it. It's absolutely not worth it. So that's what I got for today, guys. We'll do a video on the update probably tomorrow, going through all the rest of the changes and probably checking out the subs and ranked and co-op. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way. Oh yeah, and the new Battleship secondary skills come out tomorrow too. So we will definitely be taking a look at that.
Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? No Zoop for you here, and God, I tell you, it's hard finding positive things going on in World of Warships right now. I mean, it seems everything as of late has just been so negative with wargaming itself, with the community, and I don't mean the community is negative. I mean their perception of the game right now is just downright negative because of everything going on, and a lot of this is self-inflicted wounds brought forth by wargaming. I mean, a lot of the stuff going on they've done to themselves. I mean, there's no beating around the bush. You know, I would say probably 75, 80, 90% of this has been caused by wargaming. And we've got another one to add to the plate right now with USS Missouri, and I know a lot of people were on the fence about this. There's been people that are looking forward to getting this ship because they missed it the first go around. There's players that are upset that you have to complete a mission to get the credit earning potential that you once had when you had this ship, if you already have it. And, you know, I set out to play around in it and get my 17% earning potential back. I mean, it's not that big of a task. You just have to play around in the USS Missouri. I love the ship anyways, and I guess it's borked right now because the mission is still available. It's showing that it should be active, but for good measure, I played another round after, and, you know, I had a decent round. The one you're watching right now did 140-something thousand damage. We won. I mean, this is a round that I would expect to have gotten close to 1.5 million credits or so. Well, at the end of the round, I only had 600,000 credits. So, something is off. Not only did I receive the amount of credits I would have expected, that 17% modifier is definitely not in there, and to boot, you know, I got the amount of credits I would have printed with any other run-of-the-mill premium tier 9 ship. So I don't know if Missouri got stealth nerfed. I'm not going to assume. All I'm going to tell you right now is don't waste your flags or anything else on here, because the credit earning potential is borked right now. It is jacked up, it is messed up, and it's not there. And I got a hold of Little White Mouse to share my results, and unfortunately I didn't give her the extremely detailed results that she's trying to collect, but I did show her, and she just confirmed that it's bugged. So if you do have a Missouri and you're playing it, do me a favor, or at least do Little White Mouse a favor. Save a screenshot of your detailed credits earning. Remember, you got to do the drop down tab and you got to extend it to show everything, and send that to her. She's doing a huge compilation of it just to determine if a number of things have happened with the USS Missouri, if it has in fact been stealth nerfed in its credit earning potential, if it's earning what it should, if it's not, whatever. She's huge on stats, and that's what she's doing right now. So, and she's actually got an active thread on the forums, and if you have her on Discord, you can hit her up that way, I would imagine, but don't flood her inbox. I hate to get blamed for that, but she's keeping wargaming honest, and that's a good thing right now. And with that, I want to segue into my thoughts in general right now about wargaming and premium ships and everything else going on. And, you know, we always hear, close your wallet, close your wallet, close your wallet. And, I mean, I can attest to that. Since the day I was removed from being a CC, I've not spent a single cent on this game, and I'm going to stick to that. And it's just, I guess, because of the way the game's going right now. And I know there are a lot of other CCs right now that are questioning whether or not they want to remain CCs just because of everything going on. C-Raptor is talking to his community, asking their thoughts. And, you know, that it's a hard thing for a content creator to do, to think about leaving something that provides a tangible benefit. You know, leaving the CC program, you give up a lot of stuff. You give up early access to ships, you give up ships. You know, we get to keep the ships we test, with the exception of steel ships. So, you know, it's not an easy choice for these community contributors. But he is making the, dare I say, brave move of talking to his community and thinking about exiting the program. And I'm sure he's not the only one. And a lot of this is just because of the practices that wargaming's doing right now. Shady practices, things that just don't seem right. And it starts at the top. None of this is going to change unless they change their structure, and unless they change those that are in charge of the production and the program itself. So this is going to continue on, and you know, the bean counters at wargaming are probably fine with this because they're still making money. The game's highly profitable. So my advice and my thoughts are to both newer and older players, and by older I mean veterans out there. If you're a veteran player in this game and you enjoy the game and still play it a lot, I would advise not buying a single other ship. And I would suggest to you just close your wallet. In general, you've been playing long enough that you probably have a ton of ships right now. You have a ton of premiums. Nothing out there is going to be better than what you already have. It's just going to have different gimmicks. So, to you all are going to make the most impact. You all are going to be the ones that when you shut your wallets, it's going to hurt the most because you've been spending so much. However, again, I've covered in the past that Wargaming doesn't care. It's the newer players that they're going to worry about and gravitate towards and try and take money from. So if you're a newer player in this game, I would suggest to you, if you purchase anything, just leave it at premium. Work up the tech trees. Don't bother with the other, premium ships out there. It's enticing, but I would stay away from them for now. Let Wargaming and World of Warships earn your money if you're a new player. Use this as a test period. Play for a couple months, and if you like the game, if you don't see there's any issues with the game, if it's everything you want, yeah, sure, then throw some money their way. But let them earn it. Just don't dish it out. See, Wargaming, they're smart. They're smart. They play on emotions. They play on feelings. And that's what they're doing with the USS Missouri. They know it's a beloved ship. They created a lot of buzz with the USS Missouri. They know us in North America absolutely love the ship. I mean, there's a lot of history to it, and a lot of players are upset that they missed the chance for it. So they're playing on those emotions. They're playing on the fear of missing out. They'll be, oh, this is your last chance to get the USS Missouri. It's coming back for 2 weeks only. Shell out your 20 or 25,000 doubloons, and I imagine that's probably what's going to cost. This ship's probably going to cost close to what the Pommern costs. It's going to be about a $100 premium ship, I would imagine. That's just me thinking there. I don't think it's going to be ridiculous like the Napoli. That I wouldn't touch with a 6-foot pole. I wouldn't touch that ship with your port right now due to the price. But I have a feeling the Missouri is going to be, probably right around that 20,000 credit range, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. There's going to be some packages where it's like 30,000 doubloons, I would imagine, or 35,000, because that's what Wargaming does. They give you options, they package things up, but they're going to play to your emotions with this. They're going to play to your fear of missing out, and it's up to you, hey, you might be one of those players out there with disposable income that just says, you know what, I've got the money, I don't care, I'm going to spend it. And that's fine. I mean, you keep the game afloat. But for the rest of you all out there, now is the time to stop spending on this game. Spending more money on this game is not going to do anything for you because the ships that you currently have that you've acquired over the past 5 years are going to be just as fine and get you through this game. And, giving Wargaming money just condones their behavior. It condones the type of jackups that they've been having. I mean, there's no reason that there should be a bug right now regarding the mission. I mean, the game's been out 5 years. How are we having so many bugs still? How have we not had a new map in 18 months? I mean, they're just printing ships right now to print money. All the other things, all the other aesthetics, yeah, oh, yeah, we'll have a new graphical enhancement here and there, but by and large, the only big things coming to the game are new ship lines and things that get them money. And I get that. I'm a capitalist. I'm cool with that. But as a player, as a consumer, I don't like how we're being treated. I don't like how I'm being treated, and I don't like all of this. I mean, I don't like the direction that it's heading. I mean, you can elevate your player base. You can treat them properly. You can do them right and still make a lot of money. There's a lot of games out there that do that. But it's when you stop doing that, it's when you just use the player base as whales or to make money. That's when you start to lose the player base. And that's what's happening right now. And it's happening in a way that I've not seen in a very, very long time. And it's unfortunate because the game is fun. I mean, there are very fun aspects of it. I still enjoy it when I go out and play it. But I don't like being played. And I feel that's what's happening with warships right now. And I feel that the gimmicks are just coming in faster and stronger and harder. And, Wargaming is just kind of using those shady tactics to get your money, emotions and fear of missing out and everything else. So, my advice to everyone would be to just, tighten those wallets up. Make them earn it. Don't just freely give them the money. They've got to hurt a little bit for change to happen. And until that happens, nothing's going to change. We're still going to get ships that are borked with missions like the USS Missouri right now, which should have been an easy win for them. But here we are. 6 years in almost. 6th anniversary of the game going gold is coming up. And in those 6 years, the player base is just... I mean, we're being taken advantage of. Plain and simple. So... anyhow, I want to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think of everything going on. And as a player, if you feel like you're being abused by wargaming, or if you're upset with all the little things that are happening. But, you know, I still enjoy the game. There's still fun to be had in the game. And, you know, that's why I hate being so negative about the game right now. But I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm going to call it for what it is. To not do that would be disingenuous. And, you know... I feel in the past, and to those CCs that plan on leaving, you will find it is liberating, and you'll feel a little more comfortable to really say the things that you feel. So, to those of you thinking about that, weigh your options. Just weigh, you know, whether or not more premium ships in your port when you already have 300 is worth it, or is the freedom worth it? I mean, my choice was made for me. So, and I got to thank Wargaming for that, actually. I really do. Thank you for making my choice up for me. But, yeah, there's just a lot of craziness going on right now. It's just such a weird time in Wargaming's history. Anyhow, take it easy. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all later. Zoop out.
To repent, Wargaming. The CCs of the apocalypse are riding out, and your day of reckoning fast approaches. In an update on the forums, April Little White Mouse detailed how just recently in the CC Discord she'd been dismissed, belittled, and told she needed to show more respect by one of the members of staff at Wargaming. All this after promises to improve communication. And for this reason, among others, she is out. The furore that has followed is entirely justified. No one has contributed more to the Warships community in such quantity and quality as Little White Mouse. No one has earned more respect, and no one worth their salt will hold back in the coming days to voice their support of Little White Mouse and the righteous condemnation of wargaming's utter arrogance and contempt. We have passed the point of no return here, gentlemen. No number of hollow platitudes from St. Petersburg will placate the vociferous masses. An uprising the Decembrists would have been proud of has ignited the forums. The irony that a Russian company has failed to recognize the rumblings of a revolution is not lost on me. The bourgeoisie middle management scurrying to hide behind the barricades of apologies and excuses that have so far protected their paychecks. These cockroaches now cower in their Skype channels as they fight over whom they can throw to the proletariat players baying at their door. A predicament so obvious and predictable, Stevie Wonder could have seen it coming. The house of cards is cascading down as more and more contributors call time. Chibitsu was swift to follow with his resignation, and now iChase has thrown in the towel, warning of others soon to man the lifeboats. We are witnessing the sinking of the Titanic, a crew warned multiple times of impending doom, yet blind arrogance has seen the egos of people who think they know better crash into the frigid iceberg of an ignored and frozen player base. I called for the draining of the swamp. What's needed now is the flushing of the toilet. Too many Taco Bell turds have floated to the top of the bowl, far beyond the capabilities of their competence, buoyed in their rise to the top of the cesspool by their hot air and ability to blow smoke up the right arse. Sea Raptor likened me to a preacher at the pulpit, raining fire and brimstone. My poor aquatic dinosaur, you ain't seen nothing yet. If this unmitigated disaster continues as foretold, be prepared to behold the wrath of our gnome overlord as he rains hellfire down upon the heads of the prideful sinners at Leicester Studios. A furious anger so great we may well hear the sound of multiple figurines falling from their shelves. Let us stop and listen. You hear that? That's the catastrophic crescendo of thousands of voices building to a cacophony of calamity. The community contributor program died a long time ago. As Flambas has told us, in its place, we have what Wargaming always wanted, a corporate collaborator program. Like two opposing magnets, we're seeing those with honesty, integrity and courage be repelled and pushed away. After the purge is complete, we'll have nothing but spineless, weak-willed yes men. They will toe the company line or be silenced and cast out. To those of you soon to be ex-CCs, we salute you and support you. On that note, I think it best that I quit before I say something I'll regret later. I'd like to inform you that a link to Little White Mouse's Patreon is in the description, as well as links to the relevant forum and Reddit posts where you can lend your voice and support. I'm done.
Hi everyone! For those who don't know me, my name is Femininely. I've been part of the wargaming community since 2015, shortly after the game just launched. I've had a really varied past in World of Warships. I started as just an ordinary player. Then I became a super tester. Then I became a community contributor. Then, believe it or not, I actually worked for Wargaming North America for almost 2 years. Nowadays, I'm just back to being a regular community member just like you. Now, despite my long and varied history in World of Warships, I'm pretty aware of certain situations that has been happening recently, which we will just name the Yukon debacle. Now, many of you have reached out to me and asked me to express my opinions or my thoughts and feelings about what's been happening. So I thought I'd take today to give you that opportunity to hear my thoughts and feelings on what's been going on. The gameplay you see behind this audio recording is just some random gameplay they found that I thought looked interesting, just to give you something to watch as you listen along. I am going to start off this video with a few disclaimers, just to cover some bases for you all. What I am sharing during this video is very much just my thoughts and opinions. They do not reflect wargaming, they do not reflect other community members, other community staff, or any of the sorts. They are very much my opinions based off what I've seen, what I have read, and what I have been told. I'd also like to add, I have not received any information about the situation from any current wargaming staff. I made a statement on a stream recently that may have been misinterpreted as this being the case. It is not. While I remain close friends with Karma and other wargaming staff, since leaving wargaming, we've only reminisced about the good old times before I left. Our friendship isn't dependent on ships, so we're typically talking about life, the universe, and sometimes even boys. What I meant by the statement I made was that I'm still close to many NA and some EU community contributors, many of which provide, voluntarily I should say, me with non-NDA information about stuff occurring behind the scenes. Many do this as they are interested in my opinion on situations and whatnot. I have had very little contact from wargaming in official capacity since leaving back in February 2020. If you follow my stream, you would have known what these communications entailed and what happened in those situations. But now is not the time to go into this. So let's talk about the Yukon situation. And it may sound like I'm reading from a script, and that is, I kind of am. I wrote down all of my thoughts so I could chronologically lay them out in an order that make sense. So let's start from the beginning. I remember this project being talked about and started just before I left wargaming in late February 2020. It was early days, but the idea came from wargaming looking to support more local and nationally recognized holidays in relation to the regions that each server supported. The C server had recently celebrated Lunar New Year with the Wukong and Baji bundles and captains. My memory serves me correctly. These were ideas and concepts that came directly from the C server players. GPI, also known as Global Player Interaction, were pleased with the initiative that the team had put into this holiday period. For those who don't know, GPI is the department that stands between the community managers and the community departments and the developers is the best way to explain kind of where they sit in the scheme of things. Internally within Wargaming NA, we are in agreement that Wargaming were, and honestly unfairly, critical of the NA team and our efforts. In an attempt to replicate something that was widely celebrated by Russia, NA set off to work looking for opportunities to celebrate our assigned regions. For those who don't know, the NA server services USA, LATAM, Canada, and Australia, and look for some of the most important holidays and dates for these regions. Due to the quick turnaround, which was about 2 months, while it was a smaller event, an early example of our efforts was the Anzac Day celebration items, which included a flag, patch, and contest weekend. I was directly involved with these efforts. Funny story coming from this is originally the Anzac flag had the traditional slouch hat folded the wrong way. We did get that fixed. This project was pushed forward by myself, having lived in Australia most of my life, but was completed after my leaving. With Canada Day being a solid 4 months out, there was a greater opportunity to do something bigger for Canada Day to help bring better representation to our friends in the North who at the time only had the Haida in the game. While 4 months out meant there was definitely not enough time to create a new ship from scratch, luckily, many Canadian ships were very close to the English designs, so there was a good chance of having something altered in time to make the July 1st deadline, roughly about 4 months. Naturally, knowing I was soon to provide my 2 weeks notice, I bowed out, decided not to touch this project, but I knew the basics about it before I left. Basics including that Nizanao was talking to Little White Mouse and Chobitsu about gathering ideas for celebrating Canada Day with a ship, flag, event, and patch perhaps. So then I left, and as I mentioned, I didn't talk to any wargaming staff about current or ongoing situations related to World of Warships. Despite me knowing a considerable amount of content that was to be coming in the game, I never once broke my NDA. A few months after my leaving, I did release a series of Q&A videos that detailed my thoughts on various questions related to World of Warships. I was critical of elements of wargaming and the remaining staff, but at no point do I believe I was not constructive. I was just honest and was saying what I thought was fair given the questions I was asked. Fast forward to July 2020. I wasn't surprised that nothing particularly special was released for Canada Day. Given the global COVID situation and companies having to adjust to work from home environments, pretty much every gaming company saw projects pushed back or delayed. So let's go further forward to June 2021. Well, we all saw Little White Mouse's review of the Yukon with Chobitsu's section included. The details of the situation were enclosed there, and while I was shocked, I honestly wasn't surprised. Once again, I'd like to state, this is where I heard of the situation that occurred. No internal wargaming staff talked to me about it. Now, it's no surprise to anyone that Chobitsu and I are pretty good friends after meeting during the Anchors Away tour in 2019, where I accidentally surprised him by yelling right behind him. Good times. After the event, we had subsequent conversations and interactions even after I left wargaming. While I wouldn't consider Little White Mouse and I friends to the same level, I believe we share a level of mutual respect that developed during my time as lead for the NACCs. Chobitsu, quite upset about the situation that occurred, and rightly so, talked to me about it and how he believed what had transpired over the last 12 to 16 months. Other NACCs who I remain close with, and who I will not be naming, post-leaving, also talked to me about the situation, sharing further detail with me. Again, no wargaming staff. As we saw the situation progress over the next few days, more and more information came to light. If you're not up to speed with the situation, here's the current timeline according to what I've researched and what I could find. Around June 15th, there was a conversation between Little White Mouse, Chobitsu, and certain NA and Russian staff, to my knowledge. June 24th, right before the ship was released, there was another conversation between Little White Mouse, Chobitsu, and certain NA and Russian staff, to my understanding. June 27th in the afternoon, Little White Mouse publishes her review that includes their detail of the situation as they believe it transpired. From June 24th onwards, various CCs from the regions react on YouTube, Twitch, forums, and Discord. Being quite connected within the community, I watched a lot of these videos and looked to understand the discourse even more. Around the June 25th, there was rumblings that Sub-Octavian had made comments about getting to the bottom of the situation. Unfortunately, I can't find reference to where I heard this anymore. On June 26th, we saw the first apology from Wargaming, which came from Evan in the NA office. For those who don't know, Evan is the Regional Publishing Director for the North American office. He has held multiple roles with Wargaming over the years, and honestly is someone who I really still respect from the NA office. On the 28th, we saw the first communication from the Russian office saying they will let Little White Mouse and Chobitsu design and make an expendable camo to be added to the game. However, they will determine the properties of the camo and will make the final design decisions. This was not received well by almost anyone, with many people being aware that it does not take very long to create an expendable camo design. On June 30th, Nizanao takes the fall for the situation. That is, he admits fault and says the situation is on him. Evan follows up with 2 extra statements, including them working to honor the work that they did, but the details of this was going to be discussed privately with Chobitsu and Little White Mouse, so I don't know the details of what really transpired there. Now, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the situation, I would like to clearly state I will not be throwing any one person under the bus, unlike what Wargaming did with Nizanao. I think the situation was a combination of Wargaming's weaknesses that came together in one perfect storm. Not many of you knew Nizanao, but for those who do, he was an incredibly hardworking and dedicated individual who only ever worked in the best interest of the game and community. You will never be able to convince me that he did anything with malice intent. I also struggle to believe that he did not hand over his ongoing projects appropriately when he made the transition over to the World of Tanks team. Wargaming's decision to ask him to personally own up for the decision reflects on the part of the toxic internal community that WoW really struggles under. I would urge you not to direct your pitchforks at him. I believe in time we will see more evidence that Gneisenau actually acted correctly, and the fault does not lay squarely with him. And in my honest opinion, only maybe 1% was on him. Thinking a lot about the situation for the last few days and sharing my thoughts initially on my Saturday stream, I believe this comes down to what I've always said is Wargaming's two biggest weaknesses: communication and respect. So let's start with the obvious. Communication failed when Gneisenau left the team and the project handed off. At this stage in the project, it had been going on somewhere between 10 and 12 months. I really struggled to think that during that time, Gneisenau never said anything to any other Wargaming NA staff. Daily they have meetings about what everyone is working on, and monthly there's big planning meetings for supporting the next month's key beats, such as holidays or celebrations. But at no point the Yukon project was ever brought up. Over that 10 to 12 month period, several changes also occurred within the project, which included changing the name of the ship, its design elements, and patch and flag. Something we've all seen the receipts of thanks to Little White Mouse's review. But at no point the team talked about it? On that note, considering over the time period various changes were made, but somehow no one in the Russian office was aware of the project's scope and who was involved with it, I'm sorry, but I just don't buy that. In my opinion, Wargaming was having another typical communication breakdown situation. That or they're trying to hide behind this as an excuse to shift blame to other staff and departments. During my time at Wargaming, they expected you to know something so long as it was written on the internal information database. If you dared ask a question that was related to something written down, they would criticize and belittle you for not knowing, even if finding the information in the system was near impossible, particularly when half the pages either had Russian names or were in Russian. It was a large factor that contributed to my unhappiness before I left. You'd easily spend 30 to 60 minutes looking for an answer and probably not find it, or be attacked by the Russian GPI team for not knowing. It was honestly exhausting. On the other end of the communication, let's talk about Little White Mouse specifically. Almost all discourse I've watched from other CCs surrounding this situation specifically call out Little White Mouse's dedication to the community, the extreme detail and care she puts in her review, and her outstanding character and integrity. Every other CC recognizes Little White Mouse's value to the game and the community. Yet, no one from the Russian and maybe even NA teams have had a conversation with Little White Mouse and asked her how things are doing in over a year? This absolutely blows my mind. While I know I dropped the ball on occasion when I was handling the NACs during my time, no one went months on end without me checking in on them. Given the obvious size and scope of effort put in by Little White Mouse and Chobitsu, I highly doubt if they were approached, it wouldn't get mentioned by them. So simply, no one talked to them. Hell, Chobitsu talked to me about things without prompt after I left Wargaming. And this is specifically directed at Wargaming Russia, in that, unless you're a part of that team, getting their respect is near impossible. Little White Mouse being part of the community for over 5 years, releasing over 100 amazing and fair reviews, and to my recollection has never caused drama, yet they don't respect her contributions enough to keep in regular contact with her. I can't help but sit here and shake my head. Wargaming's lack of respect also leans into what I believe is the real reason behind Haberfodder's decision to leave Wargaming NA after about a year and a half. He stated his last day would be July 6th. Given that it's proper to give 2 weeks notice, at latest, that would have made it around June 22nd, where he announced to the Wargaming NA team internally that he was intending to leave, which is way before the Yukon fire was publicly lit. In his leaving message on the NA forums, he basically states that he made the decision to leave to improve his work-life balance. He recognized that, and I quote, he was living to work and not working to live. Given my own personal story at Wargaming, I can totally empathize with this. Working at Wargaming as a CM is not a 9-to-5, Monday to Friday job. I don't think there is 1 week where I work less than 50 to 60 hours during my time. And being salaried, you don't get paid extra for going above and beyond. During my time, upper management did not care or respect your time. I recall one particular instance after running 3 Anchors Away tour events over a long weekend. I was expected to be back in the office on Tuesday after flying home Monday evening. Cammy once received a talking to because he needed to leave 20 minutes early to pick up his child after his wife got unexpectedly delayed. While things may have changed since I left, and I really hope so, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. Therefore, I really feel like his leaving and subsequent job opening up was just unfortunate and coincidental timing. To Happer's credit, while he came in with little community management experience, he has done a decent job given the situation he found himself in. Happer, if you hear this, I know we didn't always agree, and consequently, we fell out of touch, but I was really happy to see you prove me wrong in areas, and ultimately, you did the best with what you had. You should be proud of yourself, if that means anything coming from me. Let's lean into a few more particulars surrounding the Yukon, and the fact that besides one nameplate, it did not resemble anything close to what Little White Mouse and Cho proposed. Now, when it comes to ship parameters, I'll grant Wargaming that, for balance reasons, it probably couldn't have been exactly as Mouse proposed, but if anyone is going to design a balanced ship, Mouse has got to be the best chance of making it viable. Wargaming has hid behind the line that they cannot take proposals based off community input due to copyright and IP reasons. Now, this would be a fair point, if they hadn't already done it before. Thunderer, community camos, community patches. The fact that we have Flamu's freaking icon on the Halloween Alaska, which they didn't seek his approval for before it happened. It was only after, when it was noticed and called out, did they gain his permission to use it. So, I'm sorry, but you can't use that as a defense. Evidence of this now being the fact is, as of Wednesday the 30th, Evan has released another statement saying they'll be working closely with Little White Mouse and Turbitsu to make amends and to try and implement some of their hard work into the game after all. To me, this feels like they're trying to rebuild a bridge from the burnt and smoldering pieces of the bridge they burned with this whole situation. However, and unfortunately, with most wargaming situations of late, it's better than nothing. So, what do I think needs to happen going forward? Now, I know I've probably burnt my professional bridges with wargaming, coming from my Q&A videos and opinions I've expressed since leaving, coupled with the attitudes of certain wargaming staff towards me, which led to my leaving. That saying, even if I ever did decide I wanted to try and come back to wargaming, it's unlikely they'd consider or hire me. I do have some opinions on what needs to happen for wargaming to improve, because ultimately, I still enjoy the game and care about the community. I mean, why else would I still actively play the game over 40 hours per month? Now, communication, you gotta fix this. This includes not chastising your staff for asking questions or seeking clarifications on points that may not be clear. Most of the items for ships are written in Russian and then translated, often pretty poorly, into English. It's not surprising that sometimes things just don't make sense. It's infuriating having to hunt for a considerable amount of times to try and find an answer to something that someone could answer very quickly. You're also destroying the morale and confidence of your regional teams by attacking them when they ask something. You're directly breaking down your own communication lines. But this also extends into your player communities. You do not have to be right all the time. You just need to be honest. I replied to a tweet surrounding Evan's initial apology, saying, "This is the first apology I've seen written by Wargaming that actually comes across genuine. Evan is a strong pillar of reason and probably the only one left, unfortunately." And I hate to say it, but I really meant this, and many people were in agreement with me. So many of the given communications come as sterile or unhuman. Work on your empathy, your understanding of the player base. Give us the opportunity to give you our goodwill and to restore our faith. You seem so adamant on refusing to be seen as wrong that you're not willing to reap the reward of being human with your players. Needless, this also leans into being more respectful to your player base. While a player boycott will never have the impact a player group will think it has, you stand to gain so much more if you offer your community some respect. The old adage of, you lure more bees with honey and all that. Put your trust in your teams. Your staff, both locally and in regional offices, are only ever trying to act with the best of intentions for the game and community. Hell, they're kind of getting paid to do as much and they don't want to lose their jobs. Questioning and doubting them at every single turn just creates friction and fractures in your team. Support and uplift your teams to succeed, and funnily enough, you're more likely to see success. Being consistently shot down before even starting something is a great way to see ideas never raised again. Lastly, you need to weed out the rot. You have a core team members that are directly involved and create issues within the game and within other teams. If you're not willing to provide them training in soft skills like communication, empathy, and conflict resolution, it's time to hire people with these skills and move those staff away from public-facing roles. While these people may have done the game a good service in the past, if they're now creating more problems than what they're solving, it's time to make that assessment. Wargaming, I have no doubt you're listening to this video, and I have no doubt you know what situations I'm referring. It became very obvious, even more so after I left, that your interest was protecting your veteran staff rather than resolving legitimate areas of concern and complaints. I never wanted to leave, but I really wasn't given a choice. I truly believe, had these issues been addressed when I raised them while I was still at Wargaming, I wouldn't have left. But in saying that, it's not too late. You can resolve them, and you can improve your staff retention, particularly in the NA office, which, as I mentioned, seems to be the punching bag for Russia most of the time. Doing this, in time, I believe, will also lead to a healthier and stronger community, which is ultimately all I've ever wanted for the players, staff, and game alike. And I hope that's what you want. Thank you everyone for sticking through this video and listening to my opinions. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. If you want to see spontaneous game content from me, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. I'll hopefully talk to you guys real soon or see you on a stream. Bye for now.